if you're on the spiritual development journey, if you're on the spiritual journey, then you would have been watching different coaches, working with different coaches and doing the different practices. And one of the things that comes up regularly is if you want to see change, you need to be the change. And whilst that is very, very true, it can be quite contentious to think, okay, I want change in my life. I need to be the change in my life. And then you hit overwhelm. Then you hit, whoa, what do I do? What can I change? How do I change? How do I do that? And so in this video, I'm going to give you 10 examples of the small steps you can take that will give you massive forward movement. It's about taking the little steps continuously daily. But you need to know what those steps are. And so we're going to get into that. Hi, and welcome to Outlaw Door. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Claire Attio. For those that are returning subscribers, thank you, thank you, thank you. And as I said in the intro, to see change, you have to be the change. So what are the small steps that we can take that are going to give us monumental forward movement and keep us moving forward? And most of these you would have already heard of, most of these you would have already tried, but it's that continual and the building. So it's those daily steps and the building upon those daily steps. So the first thing I would actually encourage, and what I do encourage my coaching clients to do, is to do the Wheel of Life. I will leave the link in the description box below. Do the Wheel of Life. See where your life is creating the bumps. When we do a Wheel of Life, we mark ourselves from 0 to 10. Now, the goal is not to have 10 on everything. That's very much a 3D reality. The goal is to create a smooth circle so that there is even distribution of your energies and your focus, so that you create harmony. And when we create that harmony, that is when we get the fluidity. So it doesn't matter whether you're all 3s or all 5s or all 10s. The key when we're doing the Wheel of Life is to create that balance. And by doing the Wheel of Life and being honest with ourselves, we can actually see where we don't have that balance. So for me, my classic, and the one that I still, after all these years, have to be immensely mindful of, is my work, because my work doesn't feel like work. It gives me such joy and such pleasure. I can inadvertently, subconsciously knock myself out of balance and out of flow because I use my energy and all my focus in my work, and I neglect the other areas of my life. And so it's about creating harmony, creating balance. Be honest with yourselves, know who you are, and then once you do know who you are, be mindful as how to go. You're going to keep yourself on the right path of balance. So the first one I would always start with, and I've just said it, we do the Wheel of Life, we become self-reflective. We look at our lives and all the different aspects of our life, and we take the time to be honest with ourselves so that we can actually see where our problematic areas are. Now, as I said, my work ethics isn't a problem per se, but it is a problem when I neglect the other areas of my life. So it's spending a little bit of time regularly to reflect on your thoughts, your feelings, and understanding your strengths and your weaknesses and the areas where you need the improvement. It's that simple. It's the doing it. It's being mindful, scheduling the time, giving yourself the time, having the discipline to do it regularly. One way to get into that habit is to give yourself 10 minutes every single evening where you do a little bit of reflective journaling. And most of you would have done some journaling. It's about using it, incorporating it, and doing it with intention. Why are you journaling? You're journaling so that you can, one, express yourself and be introspective about your emotional responses and bring that gratitude in. But it's also about looking about the balance that you're getting in your life, being reflective. And that's why the wheel of life is so helpful, because it gives you a visualization of, okay, where have I? And then when you're doing the journeying, you can go, okay, did I give that area of my life enough attention? What was my programmed reaction response to that? Did I fall back into my program, or did I fall back into my program and then 5 minutes in I caught myself, and so I pulled myself back out of that and I started my new trajectory? What the intention that I've actually set for myself? And so you're able to regulate doing that on a daily basis. And what you're actually doing is you're reaffirming what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So those programs, those habitual programs that don't function for you, that are what's actually keeping you out of harmony, you get to, at the end of every day, consciously become aware of, okay, how did I do today? It's not about beating yourself up. It's not about pretending I need to do this and I need to do that and I need to do the other. I'm not very good with lists like that. Some people, that really functions for them very, very well. I still can have a habit of being a little bit unkind to myself. I'm a work in progress on that. If I've got a list and I haven't made it through my list, I can feel a bit of defeat, and I don't like that sensation. And so I don't say, right, okay, today I'm doing XYZ. Obviously I have a schedule, but when it comes to my personal development, I don't set myself those target lists, but I do the reflection. How did I actually do? What were the situations that panned out today? How did I emotionally feel about them initially? Did I go into any old programs, habits that don't function for me? If I did, how long did I stay there, and what did I do to pull myself out of them? That, I find, for me, boosts me, helps me in a much greater way than a list would be that I didn't get to complete. The second one is goal setting. And I tend not to use goal setting for that very same reason that I've just described. I set intentions, and I always do a start date, not a finish date. Now, a lot of people, that wouldn't function for. You have to be honest with yourself. I'm quite good at completing what I start, but if you're not good at completing what you start, then you may be somebody that needs to have a completion date rather than a start date. But I like to have a start date, because it then I'm able to regulate the pace in which I work, and I'm able to incorporate the creativity that is needed so that I get the energy. I boost my energies through creative activities. And if I know that I've got a big project coming up, then I know that I need to have and schedule more free time for those creativity activities so that I can boost the energy, so I've got the force and the strength to do the project that's coming up. Each of us will need to know ourselves, and it's through doing these projects, it's through doing the self-reflection that you actually get to know yourself. So you may actually initially think, oh yes, no, I need a completion date, and then you get X weeks or X months into it and go, this isn't working for me. Change it around, move it. Don't be frightened of changing things around. And that is one of the ones that we're coming to, is get out of your comfort zone. Just because that's the way you've always done it, we move it around, we find what works for us and functions for us the best. So setting those clear intentions. Why? What are the intentions? What are you wanting to achieve from those intentions? So what is the ultimate aim, goal of those intentions? How long do you want them to be? So what is the time scale of those intentions? Or when is your start date? And break them down into manageable steps. What needs to be done? What do you need to learn? What do you need to know? What do you need to do to make those intentions, those goals come into fruition? And break it down into smaller bite-sized pieces. So many times I've seen people set goals without looking at the resources that they need and the time scale of those resources. Because if you need to learn something to be able to attain the goal, then you need to figure that time scale into it as well. It's not a case of going, oh well, that's my goal and I want to attain that by X date, without first looking at the resources that you need to be able to achieve that goal. So it's about breaking it down and being realistic with your time. The next one, which takes us to that, is the continuous learning. So we're always learning, or we should always be learning. That is what opens us up. That is what has us be expansive. That is what creates us being able to evolve. And it's a lifelong commitment. We read books, we take courses, we attend workshops, we go on retreats. There's a multitude of ways in which we can actually continue our development. When we're wanting to create life changes, I would actually advocate changing and looking at and learning about your emotional intelligence. Most of us, the majority of us, have come from family dynamics that have levels of dysfunction. Most of us have been brought up through an education system that didn't teach us how to be emotionally intelligent. When we actually start to learn and apply and change the way we communicate and start to communicate and receive communication in a much more intellectual way, that is when we are able to really expand, because our energy is not focused or wasted on trivia. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but we can all sit there and we can all remember incidences where we have got hyped and piped and hot under the collar over a situation that was external to us, that had, in all intents and purposes, nothing to do with us, but we allowed ourselves and our energies to be sucked into those dynamics and drawn into the chaos of which then we then became part of, when it had absolutely nothing to do with us. It's about learning, okay, does that belong to me? No. Does that do I need to intervene? Do I need to be part of those dynamics, that chaos, that drama that's going on there? No, it's got nothing to do with me. Okay, I'll step away. But most of us, especially when it comes to family dynamics, have learned it's family, let's get involved. And it's learning to step away from that, step back from that, and then we're not wasting our energy, and then we have all this surplus energy that we can actually then use to grow and put into our goals, our dreams, the change we want to create in our life. The fourth is healthier lifestyle, prioritizing our physical health. What are we doing to physically move and keep ourselves healthy? What are we feeding our bodies? Are we having a balanced nutrition? Are we having sufficient sleep? Are we having healthy relationships? Do we have a healthy lifestyle? And if we don't, what steps can we take to start to bring that into balance? Now, most people go straight to diet. We do, unfortunately, live in a fast-paced society that has brought fast food as a norm. And that fast food is full of sugar and processed food and very little nutrients that feed our bodies and feed our minds. And so it's about pulling the brakes on that and taking the time to think about what we're putting in. What are we fueling our bodies with? Are we fueling them with nutrients that have been cared for? And when you go down the spiritual path, you can even go as far as, am I fueling my body with nutritious sentient beings? Because all plant life is sentient. And so do you give thanks for the sacrifice that they made so that you can live your life? And it's that cyclical effect, and it's having appreciation for that cyclical effect. But to begin with, just look at your diet. Begin with, look at your exercise. Are you taking exercise on a daily basis? Are you going for a walk? Are you going for a run? Are you going to the gym? What do you like? Are you moving? Are you doing a bit of chair yoga? If your mobility is not that, there are lots and lots of ways that you can actually do this. What are you feeding your mind with? Are you feeding your mind with mainstream media rubbish that it's trying to keep you in a paradigm and try and keep you on that hamster wheel? Or are you feeding your mind with expansive material that has you thinking outside of your normal paradigms, that has you thinking outside of your normal box, and has you questioning some of the choices that you're making? Doesn't mean just because you're questioning you have to change it. It means that you're taking the time, whatever you're watching is actually feeding your mind rather than draining your mind and getting you questioning yourself and the choices that you're making. And that takes us on to mindfulness, the mindfulness practice. And mindfulness has become massive over the years, and everybody's familiar with the word mindfulness, bringing in and being conscious of what we're allowing to go through our mind, what we're allowing our minds to process, what we're actually saying. Are we taking the time to meditate? Are we connecting with ourselves and with the greater expanse of the divine in the cosmos? Or are we just being simply present in the moment? They each have a value. Take 5 minutes every single day, whether that's just focusing on your breath, whether that is just sitting in silence, whether that is just allowing yourself to feel the emotions that are running through you, to feel the energies of your body without judging yourself. Just sitting there and feeling it and going, okay, what am I actually feeling at this moment? What am I feeling at this moment? And do I like that feeling? And when you've finished your 5 minutes, it's like, okay, I didn't like that feeling. What can I do to change it? It's taking the aligned action, but you don't go into the aligned action when you're in the moment, when you're in that stillness. You give yourself the opportunity to be in that stillness. Breath work is fantastic for teaching us to get into that stillness. Just following the breath in through the nose and out through the mouth, and you watch it go down the trachea into the lungs, expand the lungs. The box breath is really, really good for that. So you breathe in for 4, you hold for 4, breathe out for 4, you hold for 4. It's fantastic. It really does help you to centralize yourself and anchor yourself and to start to bring in that clarity. Emotional intelligence is the next one, developing that emotional intelligence and recognizing, managing your emotions effectively. There are many, many courses out there. There are many, many books. I recommend reading all of them and practicing empathy, practicing compassion, practicing actively listening. And I know that sounds really strange, but so few of us actively listen. So few people actively listen. And on the moments where you find that yourself wandering off, and I actually did this over the weekend, it was quite funny. My daughter was talking to me and I was going, and I'd wandered off somewhere else. And then she walked into the kitchen. I went, I'm really sorry. Can you repeat that? We do all wander. We're not perfect. Just take ownership of that. Don't be afraid to take ownership of it. And just be honest with people, honest with yourself and honest with others. Because she just laughed. And yet what she had to say to me was very important. And so it was correct and right that I'd actually got her to repeat it. Otherwise, 3 days down the road, I wouldn't have actually done what she was requiring of me. And so that could lead to discord in our communication. It's important to actively listen. It's also important to give yourself a break sometimes if you do kind of just switch. But when you've realized you've done it, be honest enough, be strong enough to go, I'm really sorry. Can you repeat that? I wasn't actually listening. And then actively listen. Keeping that focus is being true to yourself and true to others. We do live in a society where especially when we've got people that are going through problematic times, is we can fall into the wanting to find solutions for them. And part of active listening is not jumping in with a solution. It's about actively listening and allowing that person to work through what they need to work through so that they can find their own solutions. I can guarantee everyone that is listening to this video would have at some point in their life along their journey been in a conversation with a dear friend that they love and just want to help and make things better for, and they have been discussing their issue, their problem, their concerns, and we've jumped in with solutions. And then the solutions that we've got, because there are solutions, are great. They're fantastic. And then we get frustrated because they don't take action. It's not their solution. That's why they haven't taken the action. It's not theirs. When we actively listen, we sit back and we actively listen, and we ask questions such as, what do you think you could do to kind of change that? We're not providing a solution. We're just asking questions that get them thinking outside of their box so that they can find their own solutions. When you're going through the process, when you're doing all this, have support, have people that champion you, look and be mindful of your circle of friends, circle of family. Do they support you? Do they want the best for you? Do they champion you? Or do they gossip? Are they always covetous? Is there jealousy there? Because you don't need those kind of people in your life. And those are the type of energies that will also hold you back. They will stop you from growing. Be mindful about your circle of friends, your circle of family, who you have as your first aiders, I like to call them, those people that you would go to, your first aiders, because they sit there and they aid you. They don't constrict you. They don't smother you with love. They actively listen and they aid you by that active listening so that you can find your own solutions. You can obviously go to a therapist. You can take online courses. You can do group therapy. You can have one-to-one therapy. It's pure, you know your dynamics, you know what you need to do. If you are having a therapist or a coach, make sure that you are one, that you energetically resonate with each other. You talk the same language in the sense of you have similar life experiences. Two, that they are skilled in the area of which you need assistance with. Have that consultation before you commit. Make sure that they're the right person for you. 8, we've already kind of stepped on this one. It's stepping out of your comfort zone. Stepping out of the box that has been created or you have created for yourself. And we can start doing this by doing activities in our leisure time that we wouldn't normally do. It's a really good way of starting to move out of our comfort zones, pushing those boundaries for ourselves so that we start to get a little bit more comfortable in the uncomfortable. To make change, we've got to do things differently. And to do things differently, we cannot stay in the same box that we have always been in. We have to step outside of that zone. 9 is the gratitude. We did it at the very start. The reflective journaling, you can bring the gratitude in. I love gratitude. It keeps me humble. When you're striving forward, when you have goals, when you want change, when you're wanting to grow and excel, and then you actually start to get that traction, gratitude is really good at keeping you anchored, keeping you earthy, keeping you humble. Doesn't mean that you don't reach for the sky, but it does mean that you stay anchored to the earth. So you're not just floating around in your own little bubble. You still stay grounded. You still stay, I was going to say relevant, but relevant's not the right word. It allows you and it helps you to maintain the compassion rather than, and we've all seen it. We've all seen people that have reached for the sky and they start flying high and then they become a little bit unattainable. Gratitude keeps you grounded. It keeps you attainable. That's why it keeps you relevant. Adaptability and resilience is the last one that you need to bring here. And it is the last one because we need to go through all the other steps to be able to bring this one in. It's that getting comfortable in the change. It's about change being a natural part. It's about being able to roll with the punches as they come in, or roll with the waves, however you like to describe it, without getting stressed, without getting mithered, without projecting adverse emotional reactions onto other people. We don't have those adverse reactions. We go, oh right, okay, that wasn't that wasn't in my planned script for today, but okay, let's work with it. Let's see what this is bringing us. We don't fear it. We don't get stressy about it. We go, okay, this is, this has obviously been sent to us for a reason. Let's work with it. What's within it for us? How can we, what lesson is there for us? How is this going to help us grow more? Is this the divine, the universe sending a better way? Because let's not forget that the universe can see everything, in front, behind, to the sides, above, below. It has that perspective that we don't have. And so when we're wanting to attain something, when we've put a wish and a desire, and we've set an intention, and we're working towards that goal, and we get into the flow, the universe will very often just show up with it. But of course, we don't initially always see it. It can be perceived as like, oh, this wasn't in my script for today. As we go through these steps, as we learn to embody these baby steps of change, and they've become a regular habit, we're then able to have that adaptability and that resilience. We're then able to see it as a blessing coming in, rather than something that's come to upset the apple cart. The mindset has changed. That's when we know that we're getting in the flow. So I hope this video has helped. I will be in future videos delving into each aspect in a much greater way, just to give you some exercises and things to be able to do so that you can actually start to do it. The emotional intelligence and the ability to change is massive. You have to be the change to see the change, and everything in our world at the moment is changing. Everything in our world over the next coming months and next coming years is going to change in an even bigger way. Getting ourselves into a place and a space where we're comfortable with change, and we have embodied the adaptability and resilience to roll with the waves, ride the waves, is going to be magical. Riding the waves is, and I was smiling then because I was thinking, yeah, go and ask any surfer when they first started learning, and they kept getting dunked and dunked and dunked and thrown off their board and dunked again and beached and dunked, and and then they get caught in a bit of a rip, and then they were like struggling to come up for air. It's not comfortable to begin with, but it's that getting back up every single day and having another go, and eventually you're up and you're riding the waves, and it is blissful. If you've liked the video, if you've liked the videos of Mercury retrograde, if you've liked the video, press that like button. If you've not yet subscribed, please subscribe. Until the next time, you take care, my loves. Bye bye.